homelessness in America and what steps we should take for awareness about homelessness. Giving him the prompt. Yeah.
Well, this question about homelessness is not academic for me. Some of you may know this. I wrote a book about the experience called Courage to Survive. It's about my growing up in the city of Cleveland as the oldest of 7. My parents never owned a home. And as the family grew from 1, 2, 3 to 6, 7 children, since we were renters, we had increasing difficulty trying to find a place to rent. So much so that on a few occasions, we lived in cars. We were without a home. By the time I was 17, we lived in 21 different places, including a couple cars. Now, you know, I don't say this for a pity party because I'm not into that. You know, this was in some ways a tremendous learning experience because one learns compassion for others. One learns how people can get into extraordinary circumstances where they can find themselves without a home. I remember sheriff deputies coming in and moving our stuff out of an apartment we were in, putting it right on the curb. People would just pick through it like it was garbage on the curb, since, you know, whatever humble belongings we had. I remember this. It's a memory that's seared. We live in a country where there's so much wealth that the idea of anyone being without a home is just mind-boggling. Yet we have over 10 million people in the last 2 years who lost their homes. Some because of a subprime meltdown, others because they lost their jobs, connection to a job, income that you have, the ability to pay a mortgage, pretty obvious. I think that in this society, put things in order. Everyone has a right to an education. Everyone has a right to a job. I don't believe what the Fed and Wall Street says about a certain amount of unemployment is necessary for the proper functioning of the economy. That's easy for these economists who are employed to say that, right? But it's not easy for people to have to suffer the consequences of an economy that starts to say that people aren't necessary anymore. That you could study your whole life in a certain area, but all of a sudden say, well, we don't need you anymore. What? This is wrong, fundamentally. We have to have a country where a full employment economy, which, by the way, is not a new idea. There was a bill called Humphrey-Hawkins 40-some years ago, which talked about a full employment economy, a job for every able-bodied person who wants to work, and whatever kind of work they want to do, or that we can create opportunities. The private sector isn't creating the jobs. Where the private sector doesn't create the jobs, the public sector has a moral responsibility to create the jobs. There's plenty of work to do. We have to rebuild America's infrastructure. We have all kinds of environmental projects we could put America to work on. And yet we're told, well, we don't have the resources. Get to that in a minute. But the homelessness is connected to people not having the resource to either pay rent or pay a mortgage. That's a large part of it. So, you know, what should we take to do and to help in the homeless? We need to create jobs. We need to, if people need temporary shelters, we have to build them. You build temporary shelters. No one in a society that has a shred of dignity should have to sleep under a bridge, sleep over a street grate, panhandle to stay alive. You see people like this in every city in America. And there's more of them today than there ever have been. Homelessness is really it's a profound commentary on who we are, but we can't be satisfied in leaving it there. And it's about priorities that we have in a society. Next question.